Some random surprise could radically shift the trajectory of the US presidential election, and could even happen at the very last moment. Welcome to America Uncovered. I'm Chris Chappell. As all of you know, there's an election for the US presidency coming up this year. And with the political landscape the way it is, a lot can happen between now and the election. Without a doubt, you'll see some polls predicting that Donald Trump will win, while others claim that Kamala Harris will be the winner. But there's one thing that could really throw off everybody's predictions: an October surprise. As CNN puts it, an October surprise refers to a game-changing event that can irreparably damage one candidate's chances and boost the others. It can come in the form of a calculated political attack, still a surprise to the public and the candidate it's brought against, or something unplanned that can critically change the course of an election. The term was first popularized by William Casey, who was Ronald Reagan's campaign manager and later director of the CIA. He coined the term during the 1980 presidential election out of a fear that Carter would get a surprise bump in the polls. And since we're almost to October, I thought it'd be fun to look back at 6 past examples of crazy October surprises that shocked the nation. Starting with number 6, the Iran hostage crisis. It's 1980. Just a year after Iranian radicals stormed the U.S. Embassy in Tehran and took 52 Americans hostage. As it's a presidential election year, Reagan's campaign manager, William Casey, warns that Carter might make a breakthrough with the Iranians, helping Carter secure the election. That ended up not being a concern because on October 21st, the Iranian prime minister declared the hostages would not be released while Carter was in the White House, dealing a strong blow to the Carter campaign. And unfortunately for Carter, that wasn't the end of the story. Just days before American voters cast their ballots in November, Iran announced that it wouldn't release the hostages until after the election. Then, something strange happened. Just minutes after Ronald Reagan was inaugurated as president in January 1981, the Iranian government freed American hostages in exchange for about $3 billion in Iranian assets frozen by the U.S. Naturally, this led a lot of people to wonder if something shady was going on, which is ridiculous. You think Reagan would be able to pull off such an act? What do you think he is, some kind of actor or something? On that note, in 1992, former Ford and Carter National Security Advisor Gary Sick went to the New York Times saying he believed that individuals associated with the Reagan-Bush campaign of 1980 met secretly with Iranian officials to delay the release of the American hostages, prompting Tehran a cache of Israeli weapons in return. And Sick wasn't the only one making these claims. The first Iranian president since the Iran Revolution also repeated these claims. Despite all that, however, 2 congressional investigations found no evidence of a conspiracy between Reagan and Iran. Number 5, fake letter on Chinese migrants. Turns out October surprises happened long before people coined the term. One fun surprise took place during the 1880 presidential election between Republican nominee James A. Garfield and Democratic nominee Winfield Scott Hancock. On October 20th that year, the newspaper New York Truth published a 3-sentence letter supposedly written by Garfield. The letter voiced support for Chinese immigration to the U.S., along with the idea that employers had the right to buy labor where they could get it the cheapest. This story was reported by my great-great-grandfather Ebenezer Chappell in his publication China Unbecoming. The reason this was controversial was because it threatened support for Garfield in Western states, where white citizens feared losing their jobs to Chinese migrants. And Democrats saw an opportunity they just had to take. While Democratic operatives quickly distributed 500,000 copies of the Maury letter, Garfield was slow to defend himself, due in part to the fact that he was initially unsure whether or not he had authored the letter. Apparently not knowing what you've written was popular, as Garfield eventually won the election by a wide margin, according to electoral votes. However, the letter did cost him a lot of votes, especially in California, where Chinese immigration was a very hot issue. So as a quick recap, the Republican nominee was accused of allowing a flood of migrants into the country, and the Democrats attacked him for it. In the end, Garfield beat his opponent by only 0.02% of the popular vote, which was fortunate for Garfield because the letter turned out to be fake. The letter's author was eventually revealed to be Kenward Phillip, a New York Truth journalist who was later arrested and indicted for fraud. So while politics have drastically changed since then, it's nice to see the media is as honest and ethical now as it's ever been. Number 4, Osama Bin Laden's tape. Back in 2004, George W. Bush was running for re-election against John Kerry after his invasion of Iraq in response to 9/11. Kerry accused Bush of failing at being the U.S. commander-in-chief and for getting national security policy wrong, among other things. Kerry also criticized Bush for letting terrorist leader Osama bin Laden get away, and for allowing a huge cache of explosives under American watch to suddenly vanish. But just days before the election, Al Jazeera aired a video of Osama bin Laden taking responsibility for 9/11 and ridiculing the Bush administration. Unfortunately for Kerry, this was just after Kerry said he wasn't that concerned about bin Laden in his third debate with Bush. Kerry supporters tried to use this to remind voters that Bush failed to capture and kill bin Laden, but the Bush campaign used this to show that only Bush could keep America safe. This worked out for Bush as he would take a 6-point lead after the bin Laden tape and got reelected. Number 3, the rise of Obama. It's 2008, at the end of George W. Bush's second term, and the race between Republican nominee John McCain and Democratic nominee Barack Obama is heating up. Many of you may not remember this, but they were actually neck and neck, with McCain taking the lead at some points. They were closer than Russia and Sarah Palin's house in Alaska. But then something big happened. The 2008 financial crisis, and it happened under a Republican's watch. So it didn't really matter whether Bush caused the recession or not, he was behind the wheel when it happened. And folks were already nervous about him being behind wheels. So Obama took advantage of that to attack Republicans and to portray himself as someone who'd get Americans out of the financial crisis.
If you want to know where John McCain will drive this economy, just look in the rearview mirror. Because when it comes to our economic policies, John McCain has been right next to George Bush. It is time to have somebody else at the wheel. That's why I'm running for President of the United States of America.
Lesson learned, never let a crisis go to waste. Obama took this to heart and the results speak for themselves. Obama took the lead and became president, though he didn't really use wheels so much as remote controls, namely with drones. Number 2, the rise of Trump. There were a bunch of October surprises in the 2016 election between Trump and Hillary Clinton. One was the Washington Post sharing Trump's lewd conversation about women. I can't say it without getting demonetized, but needless to say, it sounded like something Pepe Le Pew was always doing. And this became a breaking point for many in the GOP, with calls for Trump's withdrawal. But then came an October surprise for Hillary Clinton. Just 11 days before the election, then FBI Director James Comey sent a letter to Congress saying that he was reopening his investigation into Clinton using an unsecured email server. This was part of a probe of former New York Congressman Anthony Weiner and the laptop he allegedly used to send inappropriate text messages and pictures to an underage girl. Yes, a creepy politician with the last name Weiner, in case you need any proof we're living in a simulation. And the simulation has gotten lazy. Weiner's wife, Huma Abedin, had used the same laptop to send emails to Clinton, raising concerns that some of these emails may have included classified information. And a lot of people, including Clinton herself, believe the Comey letter cost her the election. Finally, number 1, the Hunter Biden laptop. On October 14th, 2020, 3 weeks before the election, the New York Post published this article alleging smoking gun evidence of corruption in the Biden family discovered on a laptop belonging to Hunter Biden, as well as some video that has Matt still traumatized to this day. This had all the elements of an October surprise, and it might have had a big impact on the election if it weren't for the fact the story was censored on all social media platforms. Then, more than 50 former senior intelligence officials said the laptop story was Russian disinformation. Of course, it later turned out that yes, the laptop was real, and Hunter Biden had been under investigation since 2018. So this October surprise fizzled, and Biden went on to get more votes than any human being in history. So with October right around the corner, are you expecting any surprises? Will it be about Trump, Harris, Or perhaps some new candidate that will swoop in last minute and steal the show? Only time will tell. And if you like America Uncovered's nonpartisan take on news and politics, be sure to subscribe, smash that like button, and share this video with your friends. And here's another video YouTube's algorithm God recommends. Check it out and let us know how the God is working out for you. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. Thanks for watching America Uncovered.